Hey, it's Heather here, just going to shoot another video. I don't know how long it'll be or anything like that. I get on here in a vlog, talk about stuff that I'm going through. I was very angry at the end of my last video, like, probably as angry as I kind of get on a regular basis. But, well, not a regular basis, but, like, that's, like, my typical anger is, like, just raised voice and pissed off and shit. But, I'm just very passionate about things, and when I believe in something, I'm like anybody else and everything. But anyways, I actually had some events happen today that I didn't control, I guess you'd say, and even though I don't control, and little things and stuff like that, I mean, I can't control my dog. Sometimes I get irritated with my dog, sitting beside me or whatever, because they're leaned up against me or some shit like that. But this is bigger things, because I've been sitting at home. I've been out of work, and so I've just been sitting at home kicking it and stuff. And I was actually sitting here a few hours ago, and I was watching my playback of my video that I shot earlier, because I was like, damn, I got mad in that. I hope I didn't say anything that come across too offensive. And then I was like, well, even if I did, I said I'm going to be me. And hopefully, like, if it comes across as, like, a bad or distastefully shot, vlog or whatever, maybe nobody will say anything, and we'll just kind of chalk it up to everything's got good and bad, and sometimes I'm in a bad mood, even though I'm depressed, sometimes I'm in an angry mood. But, anyways, so I'm sitting here, and I get a knock at the door, and it startled me, and I was like, what the hell, because I don't get a lot of visitors. And so I hopped up, and I ain't even gonna lie, like, I told my friend or whatever, when I found out it was her, I was like, I'm so glad it was you and not the other girl that I've dealt with in the past that I actually ended up, like, caring for or falling in love with and stuff. I was like, because I honestly wouldn't know what to do if it was her. And, like, anxiety just hit me, like, oh shit, it might be her. And then anxiety hit me too, like, all at the same time, because I've worried about my kid, because my messenger's down on my Facebook because my phone's fucked up. And I had to delete the app, and now I don't have enough space to put the app back on, so I don't have Messenger to talk to people. And it's popped up like 8 times in the past 2 days to let me know that I'm not going to receive, messages through this and that and everything. And so I've went and deleted the messages, trying to make sure that I can at least receive normal text messages and all kinds of shit on my phone. And dang on, because this went off so much, I'm like, holy shit, has my kid tried to contact me? And then, what was it? Was it 2 nights ago? I got on here and I tried to shoot a video, and I got cut off because I got a phone call from the phone number that used to be my daughter's, that I'm almost certain is not my daughter's anymore, because I've sent text messages asking respectfully, hey, is this still your number? And I never received anything back. But 8:30, like 2 nights ago, 8:30 p.m. or whatever, somebody called from that number, and it was not my child at all. It was somebody speaking a different language, and I was just like, hello, and nothing. And so I just hung up. Hadn't heard back from them, so whatever. And that's the thing, too, whenever I seen my child Thanksgiving and they came over, she's like, maybe we can restart visitation. I'll have to talk to Nana about it. And then I've actually sat and thought about that, because, like, emotionally, I want to see my daughter, but my daughter is still very just in a state of being that I feel like I cannot tolerate. I thought when she came over Thanksgiving that she would be, and this is me getting sidetracked talking about this, but I thought she would be grateful to see me, in all honesty. And instead, she acted like it was a chore. And that's my perception of her. But that has even been my perception of her on a lot of things sometimes. That's like Christmas morning, when she woke up and she got her puppy for Christmas. The puppy was in the tub, so that way the puppy wouldn't make a mess. And there was a letter from Santa on the couch telling to go look in the tub. And so when my daughter went in there, my daughter didn't even pick the dog up. My daughter just looked in, like, shock and surprise. And like me, like my mentality, and because I've lived in this fantasy of what would maybe be the right response and what, like would be the response that would get the best, I guess you'd say, like reaction from parents, because my parents have emotionally neglected the shit out of me, is the best way to word it. And so my child actually just stood there and didn't even pick the dog up out of the tub. And I had to direct her and be like, well, pick her up. Pick the puppy up. See if it's a boy or a girl. And she's like, I don't know. And so she picked her up. And it's like, I took a video of the whole situation and I was just like, and it's not a way that I expected a child to act, And my daughter has done that a lot throughout her life whenever it's come to what should be very exciting, like, oh my God, I got my dream come true type, or at least what I would expect. But then again, like, I don't know, like, she's just always been different. And it's like, oh, thank you. And then when I've pulled her aside and talked to her about it, she's got mad at me and she's like, no, I really did like it. I really did appreciate it. And I'm like, okay. But now, like, literally, like, I mean, me and her were like best buds, I guess is the way to word it, to a degree. I mean, I've had people from work comment and be like, she used to hug on you all the time and she used to beat up your ass whenever she was over here at work and sitting out in the lobby waiting on you, to get off work and stuff. And I'm like, I know. I don't know what happened to her. And that's the same, like, this reaction that she had when she seen me Thanksgiving and when she seen me at visitation. It's just this very reserved, weird, almost kind of stale, robotic, like, reaction. And that's what I've got onto her for things that I would expect for her to be big on. And it's like the only thing that she ever did react big on that I expected her to react big on, and I know that sounds fucked up, was when she seen me. And that even sounds fucked up, but it's like, my child literally adored the shit out of me and loved the hell out of me, and I loved the hell out of her. And so I was just like, well, maybe it's because she feels that you've got to put in a lot of effort for her to want to put in a lot of effort. And I mean, seeing a brand new puppy in the tub, the puppy hasn't put in any effort to show that it likes you or cares about you or that it wants to be your dog. So, and so stuff like that. Or, a brand new toy, or something that you've begged for and you finally got it, but it hasn't shown that it's going to not be destroyed in 5 minutes flat, if your little cousin gets a hold of it or something. I don't know. Like, I've never been able to understand that part of her mind and her emotional, But like I said, with me, it added up. It made sense. That's when it did make sense. Like, I could be gone somewhere, like shopping with my husband when me and him was together, and go to pick up my daughter. And, like, she was excited to get back in the car and to go home, or I'd let her spend the night or something, and whenever she came home, she'd be, oh, Mommy, let me tell you, and this and that. And I mean, she was just excitable, like you would expect a child to be when they are happy and excited about something. And she was only that way when it come to talking to me or seeing me or whatever, but she was never that way with anything else in her whole entire life. And then now she's been taken into custody by my parents, and now she sees me and it's like, hey, yeah, and it's that reaction that she's always gave everything else. And I'm just like my brain doesn't process what the hell, is going on. And then, I don't know, it's just like, who are you? Like, this is the one thing that I knew about you that did seem to match up, I guess you'd say. And I know that even sounds fucked up. And it's like, now that don't even match up. And what can I expect of you? And do you even love me? Do you even care about me? Do you hate me? Why are you detached from me? What has happened? And I don't know. I really don't know. Like, I don't understand it, because I'm still attached to my parents to a degree, slightly, very slightly, even though they treated me like fucking shit. And here my child is acting almost 100% detached. And I'm like, all I did was ask you this and say this to you, you know, and everything. I don't know. Maybe my child valued my life over her life or something. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like, I don't know what caused. I don't know. But that's just besides the point of today or whatever. So I'm sitting here and I get a knock at the door. And I look and it's my friend Jen. And like I said, my messenger app's gone, on Facebook or whatever. And so it took me a minute to open the door. The dogs jumped on her, and I hate that because, like, she don't really like dogs and stuff, even though her sister trains them or whatever. Clarabelle, please get out of there. That is disgusting. But, anyways, so Jen shows up. She's knocking on the door, and I go out, and she's like, hey, and that's the thing, too, is, like, I had my gate locked. And she's very tall and long-legged. She's like a model, practically. Like, really, she is. Like, she's tall and skinny and blonde hair and brown eyes and, And so, anyways, she stepped over my gate or whatever and came and knocked on my door. And she was like, hey, I was coming to check on you. She's like, because I hadn't heard from you in like 3 days, and I got to worrying. And she's like, and I was like, did she kill herself? Like, type thing, and everything. And like when she said that, like there was a part of me that almost started like crying emotionally, like damn, okay, like I'm not used to that, And then I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And she's like, okay, well, can you unlock the gate so I can get back out so I don't have to climb back over? And I'm like, yeah. And so I unlocked the gate. And so I was like, hey, will you run me over to the store and let me get some food? Because she said she was running to the store to get some stuff. And she ran me to get food. And then come to find out, she was going to the store that was closer than the food was. And I was like, oh shit, I didn't mean to inconvenience you. Told her about my phone. And she's like, let me see it. She's like, because I've had, really shitty phones before, and maybe I can help you with it and help you fix it and stuff. And, like, I mean, I've got on here and talked about how I don't trust and I have trust issues, and about how, I feel slightly paranoid and everything. And then, like, I've talked about how, my fucking music got stole, like, what do you do with that? Like, that really fucks you up really bad. And it's like, so, she's mentioned before, I'll look at your phone, and my phone is like my only private anything, I feel like, to a degree. And so I was like, and so I let her look at it and everything, and she couldn't figure out anything about it either, like what to do to make it better or whatever. And she's just like, I think you need a new phone. And I was like, yeah, I figured that. I was like, because I've done everything. And she's like, you can clear this, you can clear that. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And she's like, well, I'm just going to assume you don't know, and stuff like that and everything. And it's like, that's one thing that I'm noticing that's really good about hanging out with her, especially I noticed tonight, is she is very intellectual. She is very smart. She is just super fucking intelligent. Like, she literally is. But it's just like emotions and shit like that. And like, she mainly has problems with anxiety and everything. And it's like, it's good to be around that because, like I said, I've been a stay-at-home mom and I've just been around kids and my parents. And she even told me tonight, she said her father told her not to use big words because it made her sound uppity whenever she would talk, and stuff. And I get that, and I even get that it does, because I've listened to people sometimes before and been like, oh, well, they think they know it all because they'll use big words. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that means, But I remember, like, when I was in high school and I was learning these large words, and extending my vocabulary and everything, like, my parents wouldn't know what the fuck I was talking about, And my grandmother, oh my God, she would even argue with me sometimes because she would know the word kind of, and she would know the partial definition of a word, but she wouldn't know the full definition of a word. And so I would use it in its two forms, I guess you could say, that you can use certain words in. And she'd be like, that's not right. You didn't say that right, or you didn't use that right. And so she would discourage me and everything. And so there were times that I would pull out the fucking dictionary or the goddamn encyclopedia and be like, okay, we're going to open up this shit and we're going to read it together. And we'd read it together, and then she'd be like, oh, I guess you can use that there. And I'd be like, see, see? I was like, I didn't, take literature class and never learn anything from it, like I learned from it. And, so anyways, I went and hung out with her at her house and everything. I actually need to quieten down because it's like 12:20 and my curfew is at fucking 11 here. But, anyways, I went and hung out with her and just sitting there talking to her. And she even said that, like, what was it? I don't even know. I know she said that I came across like I wasn't incompetent, and, that I come across like, I don't know how she worded it, like pretty much saying that I come across like I have a brain, like, I have thoughts, and, I'm kind of smart and everything. And she's like, and I don't really see any problems with you. She's like, other than you're kind of, you come across as slightly paranoid. And like, I thought to myself, she's watched my videos and seen me say that, and now she's saying that. But then I'm like, coincidences and everything else. And that's just like, I've even stated how I only have one heater. And tonight while I was over, she was like, if you need me to take you to the store to, get another heater, and I'm like, okay, is that common sense on her part? It's colder outside and she's thinking that. Or is that she watched my video and she's like, oh, she's cold, and I should take her to get another heater. And now she knows I'm an INFP. And so instead of straight out asking for stuff, I just hint around about it. And I'm like, so are you going anywhere today? Like, I'm not going to ask you, and you got to ask me type situation. And, because I don't want to inconvenience you, and make it seem like I'm a burden, because that's all that I've been made to feel like I am my whole entire life by my parents. And so I talked to her about my parents and about like how they made me feel and all kinds of stuff and emotional stuff and everything. And she's like, yeah, and she's starting to get it more from an intellectual standpoint, I believe, than before. Because before I was all talking mainly just emotional and everything, and like, I don't know, like, I don't know what happened, but I'm just like, yay, woohoo. And that's another thing too, is she said, whenever I found out she was going to the store that was closer, I was like, oh shit, you didn't have to take me to the store. If I would have known, I wouldn't have asked. And she's like, well, if it was an inconvenience, I wouldn't have took you. And she's like, I don't want to be, like, how did she say it? I don't want it to be like, oh, we're getting on each other's nerves and we can't tell each other, or something like that, and I was just like, okay, and I was just like, maybe this is going to be a very good friendship. And in all honesty, I hope like fucking hell it is. I really do. Like, Clarabelle just fell over on the couch, like a sigh of relief, and that's like the way I feel. I'm like, please be a good friendship. Oh, because I'm so exhausted of shitty ones. Like, so fed up. And that's another thing, too, is I went to the place where I used to work to get my food. And one of my ex-coworkers was in there, and they was like, so, you coming back? When you coming back? And I found out from Jen that I'm actually supposed to return my quote-unquote uniform, which is just shirts. So that way I can get my last check, because I've not even got it. I don't even know how much it is. It probably isn't nothing, in all honesty. But I'm supposed to do that so that way I can get my last check. And I was just like, that's stupid. Like, that's so stupid. Like, I'm so glad that other places haven't done that to me before. Or if they did, I didn't know. Like, I've kept all my other uniforms from the other restaurants, quote-unquote uniforms, from the other restaurants I've worked at, because I'm like, hell, if I go back and then I'll get whatever, then I'll have extra work clothes. Like, I've held on to them. And then, in all honesty, like, say I bump into somebody and they're like, I wish I could, then, like, I could be like, hey, I ain't never going to use them again. Here you go. You can have them. And that's the thing, too. Like, Jen was like, oh, you can wash your clothes with mine so that way they don't stink, or whatever. Because, when you work in a restaurant, your clothes from work, they smell like your clothes from work. They have a smell to them, whatever restaurant or place you work at. But hell, in all honesty, with the amount of pets that I got, it don't fucking matter. It's like everything ends up smelling like a dog before it's all said and done. But yeah, like it shocked me that like she, came to check on me because what was it? It was a few months back and she hadn't heard from me in a couple days. And I went over to her house and she's like, yeah, I was kind of starting to worry about you. She's like, but I didn't know how long I should wait before I go check and see if I'm going to find a body or not, And I was just like, I don't think I'm that bad depressed, I was like, but I don't know. I can't guarantee it. I was like, but thank you for saying that. Like, I was just like in a weird state of mind about it, And then the fact that, like, she came and knocked on the door, and she's like, yeah, I hadn't heard from you in 3 days. I wrote you 3 days ago on Messenger, and you hadn't wrote me back. And like I said, Messenger's fucked up. And I was just like, oh, and I was like, okay. And it's like, it made me feel... I don't want to say it. But it just made me feel a certain way. And I was just like, damn, And then whenever she said what she did too tonight about, like kind of saying that, I come across like I'm, like she didn't say I was a genius or anything, but just, a compliment of my intellect, and everything, and just kind of saying that, I come across like I might actually be somewhat smart and stuff, or whatever. And I was just like, damn, 2 compliments in one night. Hell yeah, I could get used to this shit, But I've known that. I've known that that's what I need is like an emotional encouragement and stuff because I've been starved and I've never got it from anybody. Except for people that fucking died before I was like 8. And like, or, I rarely seen them or whatever. Like, I didn't get it from my parents. Like, it didn't exist. Like, it was like, you're a dumbass, you're a piece of shit, that's all that I ever got from them. But, it made me feel good. But then I'm sitting there and I'm like, holy shit, like, I'm just gonna go, I said I wasn't gonna talk about her, but whatever, I've mentioned her before in other videos. EJ, like, I trusted her right off the bat, like, practically, like, because she trusted, our trust level was the same, I guess you could say, when we entered into our friendship. Or at least I felt that they were. And because I felt that they were, then I just trusted her automatically. Because it's like, oh, you barely trust, and so do I. Yay, we're right here together, and we can build trust together at the same rate. And apparently I built it really fucking quick, and she was unwilling to build any with me, and then because of an incident, then she has no trust in me whatsoever. And so I'm just like, fuck my god blessed damn all to hell life, And I'm like, why was I like that with her? And like, I don't know why. And like, my screen just went green again, whether it shows on the video whenever it goes back or whatever. Because it hasn't done that in a minute. But, this phone's fucked up. But, anyways, with Jen, like when I met her, it's like, I don't know if I can trust you. Let me figure out. And that's the way I am with most people. I rarely meet somebody and I'm like, I trust them on the same level that they trust me. It's like I rarely meet anybody that I click with like that. And so, like tonight and her doing what she did and everything, I'm like, okay, don't just automatically go full trusting her. You've been slowly building it and working on it, and keep that steady, gradual, but keep your guard about you because you don't want to get your feelings hurt, you know? And then at the same time, like, I hope I have not in any way, shape, or form ever hurt her feelings. And that's the reason, like, I cried and broke down on her, like, what was it, like 2 months ago or a month and a half ago or something. Like, I went over and I was like, don't you dare think that I don't love you. Like, and I cried and I hugged her. I was like, you mean so much to me and thanks for helping me. And then tonight, whenever we were in front of the ex-coworker and stuff, she's like, yeah, something another, and what have you been up to? The ex-coworker of mine was, and I was like, nothing. And she's like, where are you working? And I was like, nowhere. And she's like, oh, you got some good money, don't you? And I was like, no, just enough to pay my bills for a minute. You know, not really long, but still for a minute. And she's like, oh, you need to give me some of that money, you know, teasing me or whatever. And I was like, you know, I was like, you funny. And she's like, so when you coming back, you know? And I was like, don't know. I'll think about it, you know? And then Jen just kind of was like, yeah, like, I've been helping her and doing what I can for her and stuff. Like, she just kind of spoke up for herself and everything. And she's like, yeah, I helped her get her license, you know. And I just thought, you know, okay, you know. And I thought, well, good on you, Jen, for saying that to her and giving yourself credit. Because maybe you wanted to give yourself credit, or you wanted to just, you know, like, and not even in a mean, hateful way, you know, just kind of like, I wasn't thinking about it. My brain was not there at all, you know, to be like, yeah, Jen's been helping with stuff, you know. But then there's a part of me also that's like, or did she say it to kind of be like, you know, yeah, I helped, you know, like, top stuff. And I don't know, I just suck at human relations because I'm so in my fucking mind about it, and then I'm in my mind to the point that I round back to my emotions, and I'm just a head case. I'm just all fucked up. But like, I didn't mind, I didn't take any offense to it, but it's like knowing my mom being a narcissist type scenario, and then wondering, and it's like, I watched these videos put out by this woman, and she talks about how everybody has narcissistic traits and everything. And so I think that's what it is, and that's the reason I'm so paranoid and distrusting of people, is because I see narcissistic traits in everybody, and I even see them in my own damn self. And so then I drive myself kind of insane thinking about it, and then I'm like, shit, stop thinking about it, don't worry about it, you know. And then that's like, even, you know, me kind of talking about my notebook that I had that I trashed, and the songs and everything. It's like, oh, well, I can't talk to nobody about that all this time except for my kid. I can maybe trust my kid, because if I tell anybody else, they're going to think I'm a narcissist. They're going to think I'm suffering from grandiose, you know, and then I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, I think I'm Jesus, and I think I'm great and amazing and wonderful. I'm this wonderful person that just does this wonderful stuff, and, you know, I'm a prophet of, you know, God and all that and everything. And I know that I even said in a video, you know, that sometimes I kind of feel like I have some type of purpose kind of towards, like, some type of something, like, you know, dealing with God or with education or with just bringing people together that come from the same background or stem, like, thoughts and shit. Like, I don't even know how the fuck to word it now, and I don't know how the fuck I worded it then. But I was just like, please, you know, if anybody sees this video that I'd shot previously and everything, I was like, please don't think that I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, you know, I have special powers, so I'm better than you. And that's just like, I watched this video, was it last night? yeah, I think it was last night. I watched this video from this woman that's on YouTube, and she's like, people think that just because you say that you're an empath, that they think that you're being like, oh, I'm better than you, and I'm a light worker, and I'm an empath, and so I'm better than you, and like, fuck you, and yeah, or like, and she didn't say it like that, but she might as well have. And I so totally fucking get that with her. It's like, you literally cannot. We live in such a fucked up world that I could sit here and I could be like, okay, for instance, like I've said before, I'm pretty much the only brunette, like, for as far as the females in my family. And I could be like, oh my God, that means that, like, I'm brunette, and because I'm brunette, let's say I get some type of good situation because of it, like, say I'm always put in the center of the photos because I'm the oddball out technically, but they're like, let's put all the blonde females around you in the center of the photo, and you're the brunette right here in the center. And let's say that from my perspective, it's like, oh God, here I gotta be in the middle, so that way it's like, look at me, the one and only brunette in the fucking family. But instead, like, say my sister, for instance, would look at me and be like, she's always the center of attention. She's always in the middle of the picture. Like, she's always, and so, and from that, like, that mentality of, oh, you think you're better because you're a brunette and you're in the center of the photo, and it's more like, no, I actually kind of hate it. And that's the thing, too, that this woman was talking about, is she's like, it's not fun being an empath. And I'm not saying that being an empath is even a thing. Like, I don't even know if it is or not. But I know that empathy is a thing. I do agree that empathy is a feeling, and it is strong, and it is suffocating as hell. And it is to the point sometimes that it's just like, can I die? Like, because you'll see somebody going through something, and you feel every ounce of it with your being. Like, I've seen babies crying before around their mothers, and screaming and crying because they want a cookie and they're not getting it, and their mother told them no. And it's like, I can feel every ounce of that child's heartbreaking pain, because it is at that age or whatever. And I want to start crying, and I want to be like, I'll get them the cookie, I'll pay for the cookie, but I'm not, rich enough to be like, and then I don't want to go against parents, and, and that's even like infants. I've heard so many infants crying over the years, and I'm just like, and I've even said it out loud in a hateful way, and my kids probably even heard me, where I'm just like, can they not shut that baby up? Can they not shut that baby up? But it's like, that's the very rare, like, I'm talking like 2% out of 100. But most of the time I'll hear an infant crying, and I'm just like, let me take care of it. Let me fix it. Let me make it better. Let me make it stop crying. Because that's one thing in being an empath. And even that, like, I know that I've made babies stop crying just because I'm not the one holding them, because they didn't want me holding them. They wanted mommy or daddy holding them, and stuff like that. And like, I've been around kids and people, and I've studied, or whatever, or however you want to word it, but I'm a very empathetic person for emotional senses of things and stuff and everything. And so she was talking about how, like, it's draining, and it's a blessing and a curse and stuff like that. Well, that, that's the way that it gets, like, picked on, and people are like, oh, you think you're better, and oh, you think you're a prophet, or you think you're this or whatever and stuff. And that's like one of my subscribers or whatever, she's like, oh, I like that comment that you wrote, like, I like, that he's like being emotionally naked, and she's like, oh, an emotional nudist, and that's funny or whatever. And I was just like, yeah, I thought so too, whenever I kind of was like I don't know how to word it. And that's the thing with me is like I don't know how to word a lot of stuff, but damn it, I'll fucking try, and everything. And I've never been one for the lack of trying stuff. But I don't know. Oh, and that's one thing that my friend said to me too is like she's like she kind of and so like I don't know, like, because I worry about people being narcissists with me. And I worry about that with everybody that I come into contact with. And she said to me, she said, oh, she said, well, she said she was trying to get into college, and whether she's got into college right now or not, I don't know. I think she had to redo the papers or something, or she found something out. But at first she was like, oh, if I go to college, she's like, we can go to college together and we can take the same classes. That way, like, it's not an inconvenience to me, like time-wise, and the fact that she would be my ride and all that and everything. And we can take the same classes together and stuff. And I was just like, I was like, yeah, maybe if I would have got my GED. And she's like, oh, yeah, you didn't graduate, did you? And I'm like, no. And she's like, you didn't get your GED? And I'm like, no. And so tonight she mentioned it to me. She's like, well, if you'll do all the stuff that you need to do, she's like, I'll take you to, get your GED. And I was like, I was like, I'm really not into that right now. And she's like, well, it wouldn't hurt. And I'm like, well, it wouldn't, but I still don't feel it's a thing for me right now, And, so she's like, well, if you want to, I'm just saying, I can help you with it. I'm like, okay. And, what was I going to say after that? Fuck, my mind just went blank. But it's like she told me that, she could help me, to get my GED and everything. And, fuck, I'm trying to remember as I'm trying to. Oh, but she was talking to me about, yeah, if I got my GED, then I could go to college, if I wanted to and everything, and that'd be something to do, and she's like, and I said something to her along the lines of the shit that I'm going through, like mentality, but mainly emotionally, and the trauma that it's caused in my family, and, my mom being a narcissist and my dad being a sociopath, and I never got any emotional credit for anything. Like, my sister could write her name, when I was 2 and she was 6. And my parents would be like, oh my God, you wrote it so perfectly. It's so beautiful. And then years would come and then I would write my name, and I would have seen my sister, so I was like copying, because that's what kids do, especially when one child's the golden child, the other child's the scapegoat child. They definitely follow in the footsteps of their sibling trying to impress. And so I would write my name and it would look just as damn good as my sister's did at whatever age, and say now I'm 6 and now she's 10 because there's a 4-year age difference. And of course, hers still looks better than mine. She's older than me by 4 fucking years. But I'd show them where I wrote my name and I was like, look, like I did a good job, or in the back of my head. And I'd show them and they'd be like, what? That's your name. So what? You wrote your name? Good. You should know how to write your name. Like, that's the shit that I got. And getting that my whole life and never getting good job, like, really fucked me up. Really goddamn bad. But, so I was talking to my friend about that, and she's like, yeah, something another, what was it? About, that's what it was. It was like something along the lines of, I don't know how she worded it. Something along the lines of, well, and it come across as a little bit of a sting. I ain't even gonna lie. And I was just like, But she's like, yeah, she's like, if you go do this and do that, pretty much if I get my life together, then I have nobody to blame except for myself when things don't go right after I get my life together. And I was like, I get that, and I get that I'm scared, but it's not that I'm scared of the blame for as far as that. It's that I'm scared of fucking it up before I even get started, because I feel like I fucked up everything in my life from the way that I wrote my name at 6 years old, because, the reactions that I've gotten. And it's like I've never gotten good reactions for anything. I didn't get a good reaction. Like, the closest I got to a good reaction for even giving birth to my daughter and the epidural not taken and everything was my aunt. My aunt was like, you did a good job. Like, my aunt come in, and like, my aunt had been a nurse, and she come in after I had her. My other aunt. Now, I had one aunt that was in there when I had her. But anyways, my other aunt came in after I had her, and she's like, you did a good job. And she's like, I'm really proud of you. And she's like, you didn't scream or anything. And I just thought to myself, of course I didn't. Hell, I wasn't allowed to scream when I got my ass beat as a kid. You think I'm going to fucking scream in the middle of goddamn pushing a kid out? And like, I didn't. Like, I remember I made like one noise, and it was like a half partial, like 5 second kind of, not scream, but just like, or whatever, because it hurt. But it's whenever, like, I was getting her shoulders out. Like, whenever I was pushing my daughter's shoulders out and everything. But, like, my aunt was like, you did a good job. I didn't even hear you scream out in the waiting room. And, like, she thought I was going to scream because I'm, like, 17 years old. So she thinks she's going to hear, ah, because she's heard that from so many other women or whatever. And she didn't hear shit from me. And so that was, like, the only compliment that I got for having my kid. Other than, and I guess it was like a shock from the hospital or something. I don't know, because I was so young and everything. I remember whenever they took me from the delivery room and put me up in my room, and I had Ava in my arms, and my mom was pushing me. Like, the people that were there, like, in the area, like the, I don't know what it would be called, where the desk is at, where they're all back behind the desks and everything. Like, they were all like, oh, she's so beautiful, and you did a good job. You did a good job. I remember them telling me. There was like 4 or 5 people that walked past me and told me that my daughter was beautiful and that I did a good job. And I was just like, I'm in heaven right now. Like, that's sad. But that's literally what I thought in that moment. As I thought, I'm in heaven. Because I have 4 strangers that don't even know me, and they're proud of me because I didn't scream giving birth to my daughter, and I was so young when I had her, and my epidural didn't even take. Like, and like, that's been my life. It's like, my parents have never fucking been proud of a goddamn thing that I've ever done. It's like, I swear to God, I could go to war and come back, and it's like fucking the end of Mulan, where she gives her dad the sword and the necklace and all that shit, and I could do that shit. And where the dad, like, hugs her, and that's like the type of reaction that I may get from my dad, but that's still not the verbal, like, encouragement, like, of, I'm proud of you. And even in the fucking movie, like, he says, that he's proud of her, and it's like, I will never get that from my dad, or if I do, it'll be half-assed. I'll definitely never get that from my mom. I've got that from my mom one fucking time, like I said, just a few years ago, where, and I said this in a previous video, where she's like, because there was an incident that happened with my daughter, because of them, over at their house, and it sickened me, and I confronted the situation and talked to my mom about it and talked about how it made me feel like I was a bad mother, and I wasn't. And it's nothing trivial. It's just she watched something she shouldn't have, which kids do. But the thing is it never would have happened under my watch. You get what I'm saying? Like, and we don't even have internet and shit. And so she'd watched shit over there. I found out about it. I sat down with my daughter, talked to her about it. And then I talked to my mom about it. And I was like, and it's your fucking fault. Because y'all have internet over here. And y'all let them watch it whenever and wherever they want to. And so I was like, and the thing is I knew this was going to happen. I knew it and I wanted to stop it. But y'all wouldn't let me. Y'all wouldn't listen to me. Because I tried to tell them beforehand, don't let these kids go in separate rooms and watch things. They have unlimited access on these tablets. Don't let them do it. And they're like, oh, it don't matter. Well, it did. And it mattered a lot to me. And it mattered a lot to my daughter. And we both sat and cried for 3 hours and talked about it at the dining room table one night when I got home from work. So don't tell me it don't matter. And so when I confronted my mom about it and told her that it made me feel like I was a shitty mom, like I had failed, even though I hadn't. But I had because I had not listened to my intuition. My intuition was literally fucking screaming at me to never let my child go over there anymore from the day that they bought her a fucking tablet. Don't let her go over there. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And I didn't listen to it because I was like, but God, respect your mother and father, and they're my parents, and they're her grandparents. And I did. And so it fucked up this. And I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? So I didn't go off on my daughter. I didn't get mad. I got mad at myself. I got mad at my mom. I told my mom I was mad at her. I told my daughter, yes, I'm upset with her, but I didn't get angry with her. I held back all the anger from that. I cried. She cried. My mom didn't. My mom thought it was just, well, that's just normal. That's just part of life. Just get over it. Just sweep it up under the rug. But because of that situation, my mom, because I broke down and cried in front of my mom, and I was like, trying to explain to her that my intuition was telling me to not listen to them, and I listened to them because they're my parents, and so can they at least respect me for the fact that I'm their fucking daughter, and I listened to them past my own goddamn intuition yet again, because I've always done it, but this time it was involving my child. And I cried, and I was like, it makes me feel like I'm a bad mother. And my mom cried a little bit for like 5 minutes, and she's like, no, she's like, Heather, you, because I was bawling my eyes out, and she's like, Heather, you're a good mother. That's what she told me. And then whenever we kind of got in an argument around that time over the phone, and I said to her that she wasn't proud of me, that she didn't respect me, she had no respect for me whatsoever, she told me flat out, she said, Heather, she said, I am proud of you, and I am proud that you're my daughter. She said, you are the most fair-minded person I have ever met in my whole entire life. She said, you want everything to be fair. She said, you are the most fair-minded person I have ever met in my whole entire life. And she said, and you believe in fighting for it. And this was just like within the past 2.5 years. Which would be like 3.5 now. But still, to say that to me and then to go and take custody of my child, of my daughter, to sneak and do it, like, I'm literally so, I don't know anybody else that could live through the shit that I lived through. I don't even know how I'm living through the shit that I lived through. And there's the saying that God's not going to give you any more than you can fucking handle. And honey, I don't know what the fuck, and there's the saying, oh, well, God must, really think I'm made of something because he keeps putting me through this shit. Well, God must really think that I'm made of something because most people in my predicament would have probably went and done fucking killed themselves or done fucking killed their mom and their dad. Like, I don't, it's like my everything is hanging by a fucking thread, and it's just, it's a decent, thick, coiled, kind of wrapped up in other thread type thing, but it's just hanging, and it's like, is it going to snap, or is it going to come back together and heal like it can? But it's like, I need things to go so it can heal, Because if it snaps, and that's the reason I'm like, don't piss me off. Don't fuck with me. Don't fuck me over. Because everybody eventually has a breaking point. If I take one of my dogs and I just beat them with a belt. Just beat them. Just keep beating them with a belt. Keep on beating them. Keep beating them. Eventually, at some point in time, they're going to snap, or they're going to grieve themselves and get depressed and hold it back, and they're literally going to fucking die. So they're else going to die or they're going to snap. And that's where I'm at with my life. I'm else going to die or I'm else going to snap. And it's like, but snapping doesn't have to be in a malicious way like the fucking TV show Snapped, where women snap and kill people, even though I was like, most people would have killed my parents, or killed themselves. It don't have to be like that. There is a politically correct way, I guess you could say, or a justified way to go about snapping. And I don't know exactly how to go about doing it because I'm not at that high intellectual, ground, and I do not have that backing from anybody right about now except for Jen and God. And so I'm just like waiting on God is the best way to word it. I'm just waiting on God. I'm like, God, you've got to help me snap back on this and be like, you know what? We've reached a point, Mom and Dad. The shit is done. You emotionally, mentally abused the hell out of me my whole life. And you physically abused me. And sexually abused me once that I know of. And it's done. It's done as done can be. It is beyond buried and in the fucking ground. And I don't mean done like, oh, I forgive you and I love you and let's work on it together like I've tried to be all this time. No, the shit is done. Like done, and doner. Like over. And so, I don't know. I've just been through some shit, I reckon. I don't know. Like, my life just fucking hell. I don't know. But my friend Jen, she gave me 2 books to read. This one I'm pretty sure she gave to me once before. And she gave me a hard copy of it. And I swear to God, this was before I changed the lock. Or, no, it's not before I changed the lock. That's right. It's when I wasn't locking my gate every day. And see, my landlord doesn't have a key to the gate, and nobody has a key to the gate except for me. And somebody else was getting in the house, whether it was my landlord, whether it was somebody dealing with my landlord, or somebody dealing with having the key or whatever. So this was when I was like lenient and being like, But my friend Jen gave me this book, and I remember, and like I mentioned it to her, she's like, I don't think... But I'm pretty sure it was this book, because I remember it in all honesty, and I'm pretty sure it was a hard copy, if I remember correctly, and I set it by my door, where my jackets go, in a basket, and I was like, I'll read it one day, and I never seen it since then. And she's like, oh, it's a really good book, and a lot of people like it, and they've read it, and it's like a children's book, kind of, or something, or I don't know if it's technically a children's book, but she's like, oh, you'll really like it. Yeah, it looks like it's a children's book. Yeah, definitely. And she's like, it's all about metaphors and this and that and everything. And she's like, you really like it. And so a week later, I went to go read it, and I couldn't find the fucking book. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? And so that, like I said, that was before I started locking my gate every day. Now I lock my gate religiously. Every time I go out or whatever, I lock it. But she gave me another copy of it, and she gave it to me tonight, and I was like, I think that's the book you gave me before that I lost or whatever. Like, I don't know what happened to it. But it's called The Little Prince. And so she's like, read that, and it has a bunch of metaphors in it and stuff. And then she gave me this, which is an old-ass book. that they just kind of stumbled across, her and her boyfriend. Let's see if I can see the year. 7th edition. Preface. Let's see. 1930. 1984. Copyright. 1976. But, I don't know if I'll read this or not. Because even though I've had people be like, oh, you should be a psychologist or a counselor and stuff like that. Okay, apparently this book has a lot of dust in it. But, yeah, there you go. Oh, God, I feel like I would sneeze again. But she's like, maybe you can read that. It'll make you have something to read and look at and stuff and everything. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to understand more about the brain than I already do. More about psychology and shit like that than what I already do. Because in all honesty, it might kind of piss me the fuck off, and make me real mad about things. And I mean, I get that, somebody's got little notes in here. But, there's a note here in the margarine that somebody wrote in cursive. They had pretty handwriting, too. But I don't know if I'll read it or not. But I might. Like, it's something. But I don't know. I honestly don't know. Because I feel like she's, like, really kind of, like, all into intellectual stuff. And I'm all into spiritual kind of stuff and everything. And she's an atheist. Like, and then even at that, like, she told me, what was it, that her dad said something profound to her one day about her sister. And she's like, like, she said, like, that he said that, like, he was, and if she ever watches these back and she's like, please don't mention me anymore, I will try my damnedest not to. Like, I'm just, if something happens to me, I usually talk about it. But, she's like, my dad said, like, he was holding a baby, and it's like, it was just a baby, and then, like, my sister was there, and, like, I don't know how he worded it to her, but, like, something profound hit her with that, like, like, where does a soul come from type thing. And so even though she's like, I'm an atheist, and everything, she's like, and she still prays, like, with her daughter, and her daughter believes in God, and she doesn't go against her daughter believing in God, like, but she didn't, like, raise her daughter to believe in God. She just let her kid kind of come to her own ideas of stuff. And so her child does and everything. And she don't go against it. She's not mad at her for it or anything. And that's, like, the way that I am, like, with atheists. Like, I have nothing against you as long as you have nothing against me. Pagans, or whatever. Like, I have nothing against you. And even though, like, in the last video, I was like, I don't get it. I don't get why you would want to spend time, like, people that are all into witchcraft type stuff and wanting to do rituals and spells and things like that. And even my friend, she's like, don't you think if that shit worked that I would do that? She's like, wouldn't we all be doing that if it worked? She's like, everybody would be on some money spells, up in here and, like, trying to get rich and shit. She's like, I get you. And I'm like, but I don't know, and everything. But, yeah, like, it's a good match for right now. Like, me and her being friends and stuff. Like, I think it's a good match. Like, I think we balance each other out, and stuff. I hope that I'm as, valuable in her life as she has been in mine. And I hope we never distrust or lose that. But I'm going to end this video here, so if you like watching my vlogs and stuff or whatever, or hearing me talk about things, or if you need somebody to talk to and everything, if you're battling depression or anything like that, you need somebody to chat with, or whatever, you can hit me up on here, at the email or whatever. And other than that, I'll let you go and I'll catch you later. Good night.